Hi everyone, my name is Karen Galway, also known as the Redheaded Oiler, and I want to take the opportunity to tell you about my story, how I got started with essential oils, and kind of like the title of this video, how Young Living became a blessing that I didn't realize I needed. So a little bit about my background. I am a speech therapist. I have two kids. Right now they're 7 and 4, and my husband and I have been married for 10 years. He owns his own business and he has been an entrepreneur for the past probably 2 or 3 years. He is involved with an IT industry. And so a little bit how I got into essential oils. Like I said, I'm a speech therapist. I don't have any aromatherapy background at all. Um, for me, it was a reason or a way to kind of clear out the environment, to make my house a little bit healthier. My son was prone to respiratory infections and had been in the hospital prior to that and on meds for about 3 months at one point because of his respiratory distress that he had on different inhalers and everything. And I was convinced that it was the environment. So I wanted to clean it up. I got an air purifier and then I got the premium starter kit to get started. And I quickly found out that it was basically the answer that I was looking for. We were able to just keep his immune system up to par and keep everyone above that wellness line. And so, whenever we needed some extra support, the oils became my first line of defense. I had no interest in doing the business. I was enjoying being a speech therapist, and we were pretty comfortable with my husband's job. And so, I didn't really feel like I needed to kind of dabble into the business at all. But about a year later, I realized I was spending, on Essential Rewards about $100 a month. And I thought, wouldn't it be great to just take that out of my budget and help a couple people every month and get my oils paid for? So I started the business, I think it was August of 2016 when I decided to kind of get my feet wet in it. Um, and like I said at the time, my why was just to get my oils paid for. My why ended up changing into getting a kitchen, an upgraded kitchen. That was my why of doing the business. And I don't know if you've heard of the story or the metaphorical story of like that 2x4 and how it can relate to your why. If I put a 2x4 plank down on the floor and ask you to walk across it, or ask you if I give you $100, would you walk across the plank? Most likely you would say yes, because the risk is minimal and why not? It's like $100. The least thing that could happen is that you would just tumble off. What if I put that 2x4 in between two tall buildings and then ask you, would you walk across that plank if I give you $100? Most likely you would say no, unless you're an extreme adrenaline junkie, because the risk is too great. The reward isn't really worth it for $100. Most likely you would say not a good reason for it. But what if those buildings were burning and your kids were on one end of that building, and the only way for them to be rescued is for you to walk across that 2x4? Would you do it? Probably in a heartbeat. You'd walk across, rescue your kids. Why? Because your why was so much greater. It was the why of walking across to save your kids was so much greater than anything else. And I realized in the business that you need to have a why that's like that metaphorical 2x4 between two burning buildings. And so for me, getting a kitchen really wasn't a big why or strong or good, or rather a strong enough why for me. And so I kind of just did it as a hobby. But here is where the business and Young Living became a blessing that I didn't realize I needed. My husband, like I said earlier, owned his own business, and he had a couple of partners. And one of them, they just were off to a rocky start pretty much from the beginning. There was a lot of animosity between them, a lot of just always arguments. And it was October of 2016 that I truly consider some sort of divine miracle, that my husband ended up checking an email. And it was an email that bounced back to him. And that email was essentially, that gave him a clue that the business partner He was funneling prospects into his own business. But he did it in such a way that these prospects still thought they were going to my husband's business. So, without getting into too much details, he was poaching these prospects and making it sound like that they were coming to the main business, but he was funneling into his own. So we end up having to hire a lawyer. We end up sending cease and desist letters, and it basically put my husband and his business and himself and all of us into legal jeopardy. What had happened afterwards, on Christmas Eve, my husband got an email from our lawyer, and the lawyer basically said that the partner signed off all the rights of the partnership. So basically, the issue had been resolved. And the stress that had occurred at that point had already basically done its damage. My husband had lost sleep. He wasn't eating. He was stressed out. His adrenals were shot. And I remember saying to him in January, why don't we just take the kids and go to Florida and stay with friends of ours and just hang out in their pool and just relax and reconnect as a family and just kind of get away from the stress? And his answer was no. Because when you own your own business and if you don't work, you don't get paid. As a speech therapist I work for myself. If a client cancels or is sick, or if I don't have a client that fills in this time slot, I don't get paid. And so he just didn't want to risk going there because he wasn't quite sure when the next paycheck was going to be coming. And it was at that moment that my why went from getting a new kitchen to being in a position where if we wanted to escape, to connect with our family and to work on ourselves, we can. And it became something greater than what I had ever experienced before. My why all of a sudden became that metaphorical 2x4 in between those burning buildings. And so I just remember it was February 2017 when I made that commitment. And I was part of my Facebook group that we're a part of. And I basically owned it. And I typed it out there that I'm going forward with this business. It's no longer going to be a hobby. I'm throwing myself into it. And so I am happy to say that I'm loving every minute of it. A year later, I am at executive. I'm going to be hitting silver by convention in June. I have helped, my organization has helped 80 families. And just looking at the possibility that we're going to be making our way through this income disclosure statement, that we never, ever, ever have to say no to focusing on ourselves. We never would have to say no to, I don't have enough money to go on a family trip to take care of ourselves. In fact, I ended up putting in a vision board of a family of a trip to a Disney cruise happening at some point December 18. I did that the summer of 2017. I said, okay, in 2018, we're going on a Disney cruise. And the reason why I wanted a Disney cruise was because I wanted to focus on our family. And I wanted all of us to be in one location where we all can be entertained and not feel like we can't do anything because the kids are too young. And I'm happy to say that in December of 2018, we are going on a Disney cruise. So this business has provided us with visions that I didn't realize I had, has provided us with definitely way more than $100 budget for our ER orders. It has provided us with so much support that I can't even imagine, and I can't imagine my life without it. So I hope my story connects with you. If you're interested in starting the business at all, I highly encourage you to sit down and we can kind of talk about it. But your why needs to be big enough to help you through this. So, all right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the story, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.